Cool. Here we are. We're in Richie Brown town. Or what do you call this place?
We just call it the space.
The space.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It is a vibe in here.
Yeah. I picked the right day to I'm calling it a mini dose. It's not really a microdose. We have this very powerful microdoses, and I took a few of them. And as soon as I got in here, I realized how hard it had hit me, because everything's a little wavy, especially over in this wall area.
Probably the lighting, too. It's very aggressive.
It is. Have you tripped in here?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What's that like?
It was nice because I would leave and go to the beach and then come back. And, like, that's kind of what I like. I like to be able to go out, like, into nature and then come back to a room and then just keep shifting. But this wall was very wavy the whole time.
Yeah.
I would think so. We're in Asbury Park.
Mm-hmm.
Asbury Park's cool. We love it here.
Yeah, it's strange right now.
Yeah, we're like 20 years behind saying Asbury's cool, right?
I'm sorry. I think it's still cool. I still love everyone down here, and that's what matters, right?
I came here for a thing called Holidays in the Sun, this punk rock festival. I think it was 2002. This place was not what it is now. Just that short of a time ago. In 2002, it was like, I mean, the punks overtook this town, and then they had to ban this festival. But it was an incredible time.
Yeah, I remember going to a couple shows here when I was in high school, and it was like, don't go to the boardwalk. You know, like it was like spooky.
Yeah.
And now it's popping.
Yeah,
popping
everyone's
off.
taking selfies down there. There's like wedding parties hanging out, that kind of thing.
I feel like you could make this like a stop in Asbury Park. Like, come get your selfie taken in this
Yeah.
eyeball.
I'm just a carnival barker outside.
Yes.
Come on, come inside.
Oh man, we're gonna have to do some shots of everything that you have in here.
Yeah.
Richie, you've been on have you always been this creative, or what's
I don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah.
That's
That's a tough question.
That's a tough question, but I think you see the world differently than other people, and I really appreciate that about you.
We were talking about it on the way down, and I was like, is it because he's very sensitive, or is it because he's not sensitive at all? Where does this vibe come from? And I'm like, I'm sure we're both saying, I'm sure he's a very sensitive person.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny because depending on who you talk to, I think you get a different answer of, the perception of whether I'm sensitive or not. I really don't know. It switches back and forth. But the joke I always make is that this is me terraforming. So like I'm most comfortable in an environment that is like super bright, covered in fur, whatever. And so like when we came in this space, the band didn't care. Like it was disgusting mint green color. And I was like, I can't work in here. And so I had to like paint it and stuff. And that's like what I have to do to feel comfortable in a space is.
What, terraforming? I don't even think I've heard that before.
Oh, it's like if we were to go to Mars, we would have to bring plants and stuff to make it habitable for us.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So this is like my version of that for Earth.
Wow. And the band is Brick and Mortar.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm giving no context.
Well, no, I mean, it's cool.
We gave context in our last podcast because we did it with the flag you did for them behind us.
We had that behind us in the last podcast, which gave us the idea to do this. So thanks for doing it on such short notice. But yeah, the band is Brick and Mortar, incredible project. How'd you hook up with those guys?
Oh, this was like probably 10 years ago now, or I don't know. It was a long time ago, but we were in Staples and we both were stealing photocopies and I was making postcards, and Brandon just took my postcards out of the printer and was just going through them, looking at them. And he's like, oh, pretty cool. You ever think about doing stuff for bands? And I was like, oh, sure. And then that was like, it was just kind of that. And then it just escalated to how we work together now.
And it's funny because you're like, to what we do now. And I wish we could just cut to a clip of what it is. You're just like, like, okay, whatever, what we do now. But like you're on stage dressed as a dog with like fucking
nipple tassels.
Like it's so trippy. And for me, like the memory that's like seared in my head was that incredible show that you guys had to end the last tour. Was that the last show that everyone did?
Yeah, I think so.
That was in October.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, we came down here, saw you guys were playing Asbury Lanes, fucking awesome. And it was the first time I was really like taking ketamine. And holy shit,
wow.
man. Yeah, I had no idea what Brick and Mortar, what their music was.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that I had met you and Brandon. I was very high on acid. It was like 2 a.m. at the Empress. We had a hotel room and you guys came by, had the funniest night. And I was like, I got to check this out whenever it's coming into town.
Yeah.
And I remember just having liftoff on ketamine right as you guys came out, and I didn't know what to expect. And it was just like a sensory overload of just like dopeness. It was like, you can't really describe it. It's hard to describe.
That's so wonderful that you guys met in Staples under those circumstances. I love the context of that.
Yeah, it definitely was like, and then we didn't know the like, the funny detail about the fact that we were both stealing photocopies.
How do you steal photocopies?
This was, again, it was 10 years ago, so it was before they had the card readers. So you would just write on a piece of paper how many copies you made. And so obviously you could either just leave or write like, half the amount, a quarter of the amount, and then the person at the desk doesn't care because they're 19 years old and working at Staples.
Mm.
So
wow.
that was
Damn.
like.
So what's the move? Do you just leave or do you like write down half the amount? Or?
Brandon would leave. I wrote down half. That's where I'm at as a honest person.
Yeah.
I'm half honest.
I think I might have miscounted, so let me put 2 extra person.
Yeah. It's hard because Cass balances that energy in me. Like I'm such a, not a klepto, but like I'm the guy, I'm like, we're not going to be waiting in this line. We're just going to walk right past the people confidently. And Cass can't do that, really.
Yeah.
It's
so
not
it's
in my
cute.
nature.
Yeah, it's not in her nature. Like she just wears it like so it's calmed me down a lot. But
it's better to be that way.
Yeah.
I'm probably poor because I steal things.
I feel like we talk about that all the time. We talk about like things that Sean stole and then the karma that's come back to him because he's done weird shenanigans at, Best Buy or
Oh yeah, my God.
Circuit City or
Comp USA. Comp USA. I once went in there and I really wanted a DVD writer for my computer. This is how far this goes back. This is probably 1999. And they were just too expensive and I was poor. But I went in there, I put it on the credit card, went out to the car, delicately took it out, put in the CD writer that I had just taken out of my computer, slipped it back in. I go back in the store, return it. And the guy's like, okay, well, what was the problem? I was like, got out to the car and just realized, like, this isn't compatible with my shit. And he's like, okay, cool. Scans it in. He's like, okay, cool. And he's like, okay. And he's like looking at it, opens it up. He's like, interesting. And he's like, you could tell. And I'm like, my heart's like starting to race, but I'm playing it off legit. I'm like, okay, what the fuck's going on here? And the guy's like, it's weird because we sold you a DVD writer and in this box is a CDR. And I'm like, wow, that's really weird. And like, he's like trying to figure this shit out. Eventually he's like, you know what? One of these has been returned before. Maybe somebody was trying to pull a scam. I was like, yeah, it sounds like it. And me and my friend left there having scammed this place and just laughed our asses off the whole ride home thinking like, I remember us saying like, we can't get caught. How would we get caught? There's no way to get caught doing this. Like you literally talk your way out of it. They don't care. Like you're saying, some 19-year-old employee.
Yeah.
But yeah, God, I can't even get into the amount of scams that I've pulled in my life because I think that there's like a statute of limitations on some shit.
Yeah. We're just incriminating ourselves on camera.
I went on a mini crime spree of Blockbuster videos because I was able to get and register a fake Blockbuster card. So I just went to every Blockbuster within like a 30-mile radius and just rented all my favorite movies and never returned them.
You're the reason why they closed.
I know, man. Oh, man.
Were you doing a petty theft or was it just Staples? Or I mean, it sounds like it from half of
Yeah,
them.
what's your history of petty theft?
A lot of petty theft.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
always, I mean, I should, always the big box stores, never,
Of course.
mom and pop.
Yeah.
But, just whatever. And always justifying it as like Robin Hood stuff, so doing like an interactive art show and being like, oh, well, we need markers and we need the best markers. So I'm going to take all the Prismacolors. And like, now I have like $300 worth of markers in my jacket.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's bold. I was never that bold. That's like straight shoplifting was too much for me.
Oh, well.
Did you ever get caught?
Yes.
Really?
But not like I got caught in the dollar store, the most shameful place to be caught stealing. And it was because I didn't want to wait in line. It wasn't even like I needed it. It was just this line is too long. And I did just like a quick like whoop in the sleeve. And some old man stopped me. And he's like, stop right there. He's like, let me see what's in your coat. And I'm like in shock because I thought I was getting away with something. And he brings me to the register and he forces me to cut the line. And he's like, excuse me, this man right here, this young man, he would like to pay for these things. And so he took out his flip phone and started filming me or taking pictures of me paying for the items that I was planning on stealing, and then telling me that he was sending them to the police. But like he's filming me not break the law, and it was just such a weird experience. And the woman just let him do like it was just like, oh, okay, like yes, cut these people in line. And my heart was racing the whole time, but it was so strange.
It's incredible what you can pull off when you approach something with authority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean talks like, clearing out a whole place or.
Yeah. I mean, that's just dumb shit that I used to think was really funny. It's like, how big of a crowd could I like clear out of an area by just being like, hey, everyone's got to go, just like go into a park, be like, we're going to need this area clear.
And if you're wearing anything that looks even remotely official.
Yeah.
We love watching those videos where people sneak into concerts like, this is me sneaking into Jay-Z or, any Rolling Stones. And we always talk about doing it, but.
But you're the dead giveaway.
No, I know. It's like, do we get the walkie-talkies or what? We carry a ladder in. They have like some really good moves. Where people just,
if you're carrying a ladder, you could go anywhere.
I wonder if those are real, though.
Those videos?
Yeah.
I believe them. They gotta be real.
Yeah, but there are definitely a good amount of them that aren't real.
Well, why would you even bother making a not real video?
Look how many views those things get.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. That's the craziest part. Yeah. I don't think I have a good look for pretending to be an official person.
No.
Like just my face alone is just like deviant.
Yeah.
Social deviant.
Yeah. People are keeping an eye on you even when you're not up to anything.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, man. Yeah, you've gotten in some situations. That's what I was hoping you'd talk to us about is some of the weird shit you've gotten into by just being... What would you even call that? You have a propensity for just curiosity and not giving a fuck?
Yeah. Or like, I mean, it's been a while. If I think we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, you want to tell a story?
I mean, it's a long tale.
We're here.
All right. Well, feel free to interject with questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there was a period of time when I was younger, I guess, where I did get in a lot of weird situations, and it was just like doing online dating and meeting people on Craigslist and just like, and then I think also part of it maybe was like social anxiety because I would freeze up and not know how to exit a weird situation. And so then it would just kind of progress. And then other times it was like, well, I'm just going to see how far this can go.
Yeah.
So in this one particular instance, which is like my greatest story, everyone always wants like, if a friend brings me somewhere, they have friends there, they're like, oh, you have to tell them the story.
This is how we heard this story.
Yeah, totally.
And like, I'm at the point where I won't tell someone the story unless they've known me for a while, because it just sounds like a lie. It sounds like just a straight up lie. So I used to work at the library, and I did not actually do any work. I would just go in the tower, like this reading tower where people would study, and I would draw or read or sleep. And so this one particular time I was drawing, doing little doodles, and this guy comes in, and he immediately sees me and probably just clocks me as a mark. And he's like, "Hey, you know what number month it is?" Or like some weird phrasing like that. And I have to like do the math, and then I like tell him, and he's like, "Oh." He's like, "I'm early for my court appointment." And I'm like, oh, sorry. And then he's like, "What are you drawing?" It just, just like that.
He's in.
Yeah, he's in. And so I show him, and it's just these dumb doodles. And he's like, "Oh, man." He's like, "I can tell you've got the skills." And his voice, like, I can never imitate it. And it sounded like if you were to combine Snoop Dogg and Woody Allen.
Oh, my God.
So, like, kind of the nervousness of Woody Allen, but, like, the timbre of Snoop Dogg.
That's good.
And he wore his fingernails long. It's important detail, I feel. Red flag. And so, so he's looking at the drawings, and he's like, "You ever think about drawing people?" And I was like, "Yeah, sometimes." And he's like, "All right, well, how old are you?" And then I tell him how old I am, and I think I'm like 23 at this point. And he's like, "Okay, good." He's like, "So if you're of age, so we could talk about this." He's like, "I want to commission a portrait from somebody of me and my girl in the nude. It's going to be real hot, real classy. I have this couch that looks like the one from Titanic. Would you be interested in doing this?" And immediately I'm like, this guy's idea of what hot, sexy, and classy are not what my idea of hot, sexy, and classy are. So of course I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I agree, and I give him my phone number, and he immediately calls me while he's standing in front of me and just like looks me in the eye and is like, "I'm just making sure you didn't give me the wrong number."
Oh, God.
And so
It's a good thing you did, man.
what would have happened? And so I answer. I'm like, hello, okay. So we make the date to go, and it's around Halloween time, I guess. And so he tells me I can identify his apartment by the one that has the really nice Halloween decorations. So when I get to his apartment, none of the apartments have Halloween decorations except for one, which just has orange cobwebs just thrown onto the bush. And so I'm like, well, this must be the place. And also verification that his idea of classy is questionable. And so part of our agreement was that he would provide the paper. Just put that in your bank for later. So he has no doorbell. I call, and he opens the door. And the first thing I see, like just right past him into his kitchen, is a handful of like 15-year-old Mexican boys smoking blunts. And he's black, and he says, "Those are my nephews." And I'm like, "Oh, interesting. Interesting family you have." And so he's like, "I'm going to get my nephews out of here. Just have a seat." So I sit down on the couch, the Titanic couch, which looks nothing like the Titanic.
Something like this.
Yeah, something like this. And to my right is a man who I am not introduced to, who looks like the bald guy from Tenacious D. And he's laying on another couch, and he's watching Whitney Houston's The Bodyguard on a little tube TV, like resting on a dresser. And then in front of me is an open Bible, and there's crosses all over the wall. And we watched together in silence, because he didn't acknowledge my presence, the scene where like the bodyguard carries her out and the song plays while this man is, shooing his nephews out of the house. And then he goes and gets the paper that he was supposed to provide. And he comes out with like a Staples flip chart, and it's all curled up and looks like it's been in a closet. And I'm like, oh, I keep almost saying his name. I'm like, oh, we can't use this. Like, it's going to turn yellow. Lucky for you, I have some paper in my car. I'll go get it. So I go get the paper to explain to him all that. And then he wants to give me a tour of the house. And his tour of the house is just a tour of the photos. And so he has this like wall unit, and there's just like tons of pictures. So he shows me his parents, and they're black. Then he shows me his brothers, and they're all white. And I'm like, huh. You have an interesting and large family. Hoping he would like maybe clarify how he has this, strange mixed race family. And he's just like, yep. And then that was that. And then he later offers me alcohol. I don't drink. He seems disappointed. He's like, well, I'm gonna have some alcohol. And then he comes in and he's like, all right, so my girl's on vacation, but I still want to commission a portrait for her. I want to surprise her. Still going to be very hot, classy. What do you think about me in the tub? I've got some waterproof pillows. It's going to look sexy.
Oh my God. Was it red flags if they weren't like high raised before this? What were they going off? Like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah. Well, so mind you, I'm young and I'm like, this is weird, but like, I'm a liberal, progressive person. I can't be freaked out by a naked man. That would make me homophobic.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, sure. And so he's like, all right, I'll go get ready. He's like, you just set up your drawing stuff, and I'll be in a minute. And I'm like, okay. So I go in this bathroom, and it's an apartment, so it's like a very small bathroom. And also, I'm doing a pencil drawing, so there's not a lot to set up. So I'm just like rearranging my pencils on his, his sink. And it's not even like a clawfoot tub. It's like a tub shower combo.
Oh my
So
God.
he comes in wearing a white bathrobe, unrobes. He has an erection. And
Oh, daddy.
I just ignore it because I'm not
You're like,
going to.
okay.
Yeah, like maybe it's a nervous erection. I don't know. Maybe those exist.
You're a real professional.
I'm a pro just
Yeah.
in general.
From day one in
From
this game.
Day one. And so he gets in the tub, and then he's like, oh, could you do me a favor? He's like, could you close the door? Because I'm just like afraid my nephews are going to come back and see, and I don't want them to see me like this. So like now I'm like, oh, okay. So I close the door, and now like the chair I'm sitting in to draw him is blocking, like the door can't open unless I get up and move the chair. So I'm just like trapped in this bathroom with this man. And I'm like, well, this is strange, but whatever. And also like he's naked and he's just in complete control of the situation.
Yeah,
Like
wow.
think about that power dynamic.
Absurd composure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still got the erection.
Yeah.
And and he also put like bubbles in the bath, but not enough for it to be a bubble bath, just enough for it to be weird. like a couple bubbles.
Yeah.
And so I just start drawing him. It's like relatively normal, aside from the fact that he has like a waning erection.
Oh my Lord.
And we're just talking, just shooting the shit. And then he tells me about kind of just like his past. He used to be a hairstylist. I'm like, oh, cool. And then he tells me that he's like, yeah, I used to actually have like long cornrows, but I had to get rid of them when I was in jail because my cellmate put his foot on my head and I got a fungus and I had to cut all my hair.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, oh, okay. And like, don't want to know the details of jail. And just going to pretend like I didn't hear it. And I just immediately jumped onto the cornrow part. And this, now mind you, this is before R. Kelly was proven to be a bad person.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a project where I got my hair in cornrows and recited R. Kelly's Trapped in the Closet in monotone.
Oh.
And
I'm sorry the world missed out on that.
me too. But I guess, that would be a blemish on my reputation now in many ways.
Yeah, it'd be haunting you.
But I told him about the idea, and he was like, well, like Trapped in the Closet's about R. Kelly being gay, right? And I was like, I don't think it is. And he like really argued with me about it. And I was like, I don't think you've ever heard or watched Trapped in the Closet. Lucky for you, I have it on my laptop in my car. I'm going to go get it. So
Wow, shit.
I go to my car, get my laptop, set it up on the computer, and now he's watching R. Kelly's Trapped in the Closet. while I'm drawing him naked in a bathtub.
That was a really good idea. That was really in the moment thinking, like diffusing a situation, like establishing you can get out of there.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to come back, you know?
And also taking his attention off of you.
That's what I had hoped. And also, like, once it was happening, to go back to, like, what we were talking about before, we're getting myself in weird situations. Like, that snapshot of that moment was the point where I was like, this is the great story that I will get to tell my friends. Like, this is so absurd. It's so ridiculous. And, like, I'm not even thinking about the fact that I am in danger. And so, like, he clearly doesn't want to watch Trapped in the Closet. And so I don't know how long it's been going, but I'm drawing him. And then he, like, wiggles his wiener in the water. And he's like, make sure you get the proportions right. And I was like, oh, okay. Do you want me to, like, draw a flag flying from it or something? You know, trying to, like, diffuse it with some humor. And he's like, no. Just no. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, we're not joking around.
Not joking around.
At this point, I'm thinking you're leading him on. Like, I think I'm kind of, like, on
So-
his side right now.
Yeah, so
man.
again, it's a problem I have. It's a regret. But then, you know, it's a little more silence, and then he's like, oh, yeah, maybe I should go back. So he reveals to me that the brothers in the photographs are not actually brothers. They're ex-lovers, and he just doesn't feel comfortable calling them exes, so he calls them brothers.
Oh, okay.
Which is strange, because they all looked like me. Skinny and white.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh.
And it seems like he doesn't have an ability to let go of his past lovers, which is also kind of a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a red flag if you're going into a relationship with this guy, for sure.
Yeah. This is a very romantic evening for the two of us. So he gets bored with R. Kelly's Trapped in the Closet, and then just kind of starts talking over it, and he's like, so what do you think? And I was like, what do you mean? And then he, like, gestures with his chin towards his penis, and I'm just like, I don't know, looks like a regular old dick to me. And he's like, people tell me it's pretty big. I was like, oh, seems pretty average. Yeah, like, kind of
bold.
Yeah, trying to be, like, playfully casual, and also, like, let him know that, like, I'm not taking these advances seriously. And so then that's, like, you know, silence for a little while longer, and then eventually he's like, I don't really want to watch this anymore. He's like, can we put something else on? And I'm like, yeah, sure, what? And he's like, can we put on some porn? And I'm just like, I have to be accommodating.
Oh my god.
And so, but
I remember this part. This is great.
I'm panicking though, because, like, when someone asks you to put on porn, do you say, like, oh, well, what's your preference? Or do I, like, is it dealer's choice? Do I pick?
Tentacles?
Yeah, you into tentacles? What about, like, people licking glass?
Yeah.
And so I try to get on his internet, and I can't. And there's a couple lists, and one of them is called Chill Town. And so I'm like, are you Chill Town in all capital letters? And he's just like, yeah. I'm like, oh, well, I need the password. And he's just like, oh, I don't know it. And I was like, oh, well, I can't get on the internet then. And he's like, oh, well, can you still download stuff? And I'm like, no, that's not how the internet works. And he's like, oh, and he's like real disappointed. And he's like, just put whatever else you have. And so this was during a period of my life where I was doing a project that I was sampling a bunch of things from all of Will Smith's music and movies to make an album just entirely out of Will Smith sounds.
Ooh.
So I put on, I guess to clarify, the only movies I have on my computer are Will Smith movies.
That's pretty hot, though.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, but I also realize now in hindsight that I am giving him all the wrong ideas, because it's just like R. Kelly, Will Smith.
Yeah, he's seeing that you have a type too.
He's saying I have a type. So I put on Enemy of the State, because that's the one I haven't gotten to yet. So I figure now I'm multitasking. Clearly, he doesn't want to watch Enemy of the State. So I'm drawing him again, you know, for I don't know how long before he just starts talking over the movie. And he's like, can I ask you a question? I'm like, sure. He's like, would you show me your cock? And
I kind of love this guy.
I do too.
I am so torn about how to feel about this man. Now that I know, in hindsight, some details.
Oh shit.
But my reaction was something like, I don't really know why like you would want to see my penis, because like wouldn't really it's not gonna happen.
It has nothing to do with the job I'm here to do.
Yeah, and he responds and immediately corrects me, and he's like, "Little boys have penises, men have cocks," and I was like, that was when I got the cold sweat, and I was like, oh. This is not fun. This is dangerous. This is dangerous.
Fuck, dude.
And then he was like, I'll give you extra money, like on top of the $50 that I'm paying you for this drawing. And he didn't say how much, but I'm like thinking about it in silence as I'm drawing him, because I'm like, oh, I've got student loans.
Like how it's just showing him my penis.
Just showing him my penis.
Student loans.
Yeah. And this is why we need to cancel.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not the only one that's doing this.
Yeah.
So I'm drawing him in silence after he proposes this, just very uncomfortable. And then I'm like mulling it over in my head. And then he's probably also uncomfortable because he's kind of like shifting around. And he starts talking more. And he's like, all right, like the least I would want to do is touch it. At the most, suck it. And trust me, if I sucked it, you'd be coming back for more. And I was just like,
oh, that's smooth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good line.
Yeah.
If he hadn't like trapped me in a bathroom.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm just like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this.
Well, now you know you definitely can't show him your penis.
No, because it's if you give a moose a muffin, he's going to want to suck on it. And so I'm just like, I trying to come up with all these goofy excuses, like, oh, I try to maintain a professional distance between my clients and myself, for these $50 drawings that I do. And he's trying to like convince me that if I want to make it in the art world, this is just what I'm going to have to do. And I'm like, well, he's probably right.
It is a good point.
If it's not literal, it's metaphorical.
Yeah.
And so eventually I realized like he's not going to drop it. And so I faked getting a phone call from my sister. I go out and I'm just loudly talking on the phone like, he did what? Oh, that asshole. All right, I'm coming to get you right now. I come in. I'm like, listen, my sister's boyfriend, they got in an argument. He left her somewhere. I have to go pick her up. And he's like, wait. He's like, you don't want to go do that. He's like, if you do that, and you and your sister and this guy get back together, you're going to look like the bad guy. And I'm like, no, like, my sister is a pretty good judge of character. I think it's over. I got to go. And he's like, all right, fine. Well, let me get out of the tub. I want to look at this drawing. And I'm like, all right. So I have to wait for him to, like, get out of the tub, put his robe on. He looks at the drawing. Now, mind you, like, I'm not a portrait artist, so I don't know why I agreed to do this. And he looks at the drawing, and he's like, oh, no. He's like, do my eyes bug out like this? He's like, can you fix this right now? And I'm like, no, I got to go. And I'm like, I'll come back. I'll do the drawing some other time. Like, I'll leave it with you. Like, I promise I'll be back. And he's like, all right. He's like, well, let me walk you to the door. So he walks me to the door, and then he asks me where I parked my car, and I just gesture vaguely in the distance, but it's actually like very close to his front door. And he's like, oh, it's on like blah, blah, blah street? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, well, it's actually faster if you take the back door. He's like, why don't you come in and just go out the back way? And I'm like, no, like I'm already out. He's like, no. He's like, come in and take the back door.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, no. And then I just keep taking like a step closer and closer in my car till I get to my car. And he's still trying to convince me to come back inside. And he's like, oh, that's your car? And then I said, yes, get in my car, drive away, unmurdered.
Whoa.
So that's the end of the experience. So
did you kind of peel out of there? Or was it kind of like one of those moments like in a movie?
Yeah,
like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, no. If I was
all of a sudden he's at the window.
If I was cool, I would have peeled out. But instead, I'm like, oh, gotta. And so. And I immediately call my friends, and I'm like, I think I just like narrowly escaped dying.
Oh my God.
And like, that was 10 years ago, I would say. So it was before Me Too, and then, like, I've been telling this story for so long, and, like, I'm realizing that, like, if I was a woman, that would be such a darker story.
Oh yeah.
Because there is, like, an element of, like, confidence that I had as a man in that situation that was just like, oh, well, even if he, like, does try something, like, maybe I can kick him in the face. Or
Do you think you could have taken him in a fight?
No, I'm a very weak person.
Well, you look strong. I think you're strong.
I just flex. Yeah.
Well, I think the truth is that these kind of situations, maybe not as ridiculous as what you went towards, do happen to men,
Oh, yeah.
Men do get targeted and do get sexually assaulted fairly often, unfortunately. But I'm really grateful. I mean, I don't think you would have died, but I think if he had some weird stuff happen to him in prison, it's possible that you could get the brunt of that trauma.
Well, I've been telling the story for 10 years and never thought to, like, Google his name for visual purposes to, like, share with people. So a couple of years ago, someone asked, like, you ever, like, look him up? So I did, and we found his Facebook. And at the time, there was a picture of him in a bathrobe, like, sitting on a bed in what looks like a haunted mansion. Like, such a weird thing. And so that was really funny. And then the next time I told the story, I tried to find it. We couldn't find it, but we did find his police record.
Oh, no.
And he was in jail for violent assault.
Oh.
Shit. Wow.
So
damn.
that's...
I wonder if he's ever killed anyone.
I really don't like to think about it.
Maybe there's a reality where you died in that house that day. Like, you're on one timeline and there's other timelines where you didn't make it out.
Yeah. Maybe I'm dead now.
That's why you have to terraform with all these colors to make it feel like you're really alive.
Yeah, totally. We're definitely not real. We're definitely dead.
So that's the story.
Dude.
Wow.
Dude, that's fucking crazy.
And I'm sure I missed, like, a bunch of beats because there were so many just weird little details.
The dude watching The Bodyguard.
Yeah.
What's his deal?
So, yeah, I leave that part. There's more in the story that I leave out just because the story doesn't flow if I include all these other things. But there were also moments where that guy came to the door and they had, like, an argument about how to cook rice and just a bunch of other, like, weird stuff that I'm, like, in the crossfire of. But yeah, I don't really know what that guy's deal was, but he did look like the guy from Tenacious D.
Was it? It wasn't him.
No, it wasn't him.
All right.
But that would make that story.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And you know who the guy on the couch was?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're pretty much vulnerable whenever you go into a stranger's house because you're, like, entering their vibe, and that could be, I mean, even our vibe can be pretty wily if you hit us on the wrong day,
What?
Not like sexual assault, show me your penis wily, but, like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of motherfuckers will come over to our house just like, hey, I want to say hi to these guys. And we say yes to everyone. And next thing you know, they're smoking DMT. That's a pretty wily afternoon.
Yeah. And, like, you don't know necessarily how someone will react afterwards.
No. I've had two bad situations. We probably turned 80 people onto DMT just because, like, we had it. And, like, a lot of people would ask us, like, could I do it now? I'm like, sure. Twice, though, like, people freaked out on the level where I was, like, this girl flipped out to the point, she literally flipped out. She was flipping up the wall somehow. Her knees were scraped up from my brick wall. That's how crazy she was going. And she just, like, lost her mind. And screaming in a way that I was thinking, how am I going to explain these screams to the cops? Because you could literally find your parents dead, murdered, and you wouldn't scream like this.
Yeah.
Like, there would be nothing on this plane of reality that could make someone scream like this. So I'm sitting there, like, trying to figure that out, but also, like, trying to kind of calm the situation down. And her sister was there. So as she was starting to come to, she's looking at her sister. She's like, oh, my God. Oh, you're my sister. Okay, I'm me and you're my sister. And we have cousins. Like, we barely ever talk about. And they're in New Hampshire. She's, like, trying to piece together her reality. That's what it seems like it is, the bad trip on DMT, is when someone couldn't even conceive of because how could you? What ego disillusion was?
Yeah.
And then they're experiencing it, and they want this reality back. I think that's why DMT gives you such gratitude, because on some level, every dose will do that to you. Have you ever done that?
No,
Oh.
I tried, but I'm bad at smoking.
Oh.
It's tough to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you gotta be. If you're not like, if you never smoke anything else, I don't even know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd probably be okay with changa because that's like
Yeah.
a smoother smoke.
Yeah.
It's like a leaf.
The time I tried, it was like, I think, a dirty pipe, and I just was like, this is my first time ever smoking anything. And it just was burned my throat, and that was about it.
So you're not a weed man at all.
Well, I eat it, and
Okay.
then I actually, last year, I think, was the first time I ever smoked weed.
Whoa.
And it was funny because I smoked it with some stranger's mother. It was like a friend's roommate, and I don't want to keep telling stories. So
What did you mean?
Literally, that's what we were saying on the way down. We're like, if we could get him telling stories.
I like your stories.
Yeah.
So I was helping like a friend shoot a video, and it's actually, yeah, I could say this. It's Brandon's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corey.
And so I'm helping Corey with a music video, and Corey's very loosey-goosey with just everything. And so he's like, all right, go back to my, like, I was staying with him, and he's like, go back to my house, just tell my roommates that you've been there before, and that, you know, like, you're not like a weirdo, and I have to stop and get some stuff, and I'll be there eventually. So he's gonna take like 5 hours probably. So he's just gone. So I go to the apartment, not realizing that he like lives in like a girls' dorm. So it's like a bunch of like 22-year-old girls.
Oh my god.
And I'm just like, how is this man living in this situation? And one of the girls' moms was visiting. So I come in, and now I'm like invading like mom-daughter time. And they're just like, oh, like, you know, Corey? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And so I'm like hanging out with them. And the daughter's like super nerdy, super like square. And the mom just keeps hinting at like, she like wants to like get wild. She's like, oh, man, like I remember like smoking pot. And then
Sounds like this guy.
yeah. And so eventually Corey comes back, and she's still talking about smoking pot. And Corey's like, well, I have some pot. And then he's like, why don't you smoke some pot? So then me and this mom went up to the porch, like, and smoked pot while her daughter watched us. And it was so funny because I had like the traditional experience where I like inhaled and just coughed a bunch and embarrassed myself. But the high was like so disappointing because I've eaten so many edibles.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was just like, why do people do this?
Yeah.
Like I just felt like stupid rather than like kind of like the trippy feeling that, you know, you get from eating a bunch of edibles.
The edibles are psychedelic
Yeah.
in the right dose, and smoking it is like you just like get to this quick peak, and then it slowly comes down. But yeah, the edibles like ease you into it a little bit more. You become dumb over the course of hours, not like seconds.
Yeah. But it was, I just really like knowing that was my first
You made you do. After all this, we're still finding that you can make some good decisions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you think there's like a link between psychedelics and like spirituality in your experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that. I mean, I grew up as a Christian religious person.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Fuck.
And eventually, you know, decided not for me.
Yeah.
And then became like agnostic, atheist, you know, whatever that weird gray area is. And then just kind of never really thought about it. And then kind of like whatever my spirituality is now has evolved through like so many different experiences. But a major part was definitely taking mushrooms and then like being like, oh, like being outside is nice.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like, oh, I'm going to grow a bunch of plants. Oh, like. And so it definitely like enhanced my appreciation of like the physical realm and what's happening here. And then, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's something.
Yeah, it connects you to God. That's what I think, or something that I don't know that I call God. But I was probably the same thing. I was like super Catholic. I got way into it. Even when I had a choice, like at 18, 19, I was having a real tough time. I was like, let's double down on this Catholic thing. I've never really given it a chance. and got into it, and I was reading the Bible every night. I'm like crying reading the Bible, and then going to these youth groups where they're interpreting what I was crying about completely differently.
Mm-hmm.
So it started to leave a little bit of a bad taste, and around 19 years old, I got the fuck out of there. And I did the classic, like kind of what you're saying. Like I went the opposite direction, like atheist. There is nothing, and that made me feel better for a long time. But I guess by the time the mushroom found me, that wasn't really working anymore.
Yeah. I don't really know what to call how I feel now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if having, like, maybe we share that, like, having that one reference point of, like, oh, I was, like, deep in religion,
Yeah.
makes you kind of allergic to a lot of, and I could be projecting onto you, but, like, to like, new age concepts in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll see the mechanisms, I'll attend something, and I'm like, oh, this is just church for people who think that church is dumb.
Yeah.
But it's just the same,
Yeah.
you know,
Tricks, yeah.
tricks and costuming. And I'm convinced that, like, God is the thing that we are contained inside of. You know, it's very much like it broke itself apart to learn about itself, and that's what we are. But to personify it too much maybe is a mistake, because, like, that intelligence is so different from our intelligence, and right now it's just like a weird Rube Goldberg machine that's you know, bing bing bing, moving around, and
that's what the DMT experience feels like. You're just in that all of a sudden. And you're like, oh, I couldn't possibly understand this. What's going on here? What's going on in there? I just kind of want to be in the balance of it. It kind of makes you have the appreciation for balance in your life, and I think all psychedelics can do that.
Yeah, my first big acid trip, I remember having that exact download. I like how you put it, like where I'm like touching trees and I'm like, I'm experiencing this. Like I'm downloading this to something larger than myself. And it still brings like a little zest into like touching things and feeling things and going towards weird situations. And I don't know.
It makes it feel like all of a sudden there's an importance, but not like,
yes.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh,
Totally.
it's important that I have experiences for this thing that I'm a part of.
You're doing R&D.
Yeah, exactly. But then you're the only person that it's for, in a way. So that it like kind of just makes it kind of like, okay, it's not too consequential. I probably could just watch Netflix forever and it'd be fine.
I would say it's like each person is like a little automaton that's going out and collecting experience, so that like when they die, it's just like, all right, we'll dump the hard drive into the big computer, and then that eventually will accumulate to something, whatever, you know, whatever that is. The same questions we ask ourselves, like, who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? Like maybe those are actually the questions of the big thing that it has. And so like, that's so like philosophy 101 stupid.
No, but those are important questions because no one can answer them definitively. And that's what makes them so fun. But do you think like if there was like an app you could upload yourself to, would you do it? Like a live forever sort of energy?
Oh, I don't know. I like the thought of dying is scary, and the thought of living forever is also scary. It's almost like that's what makes like the concept of reincarnation really funny, because it's just like you just keep tricking yourself into thinking that you're a finite being, but then you're actually just living over and over again. And
cycling through.
That's how you like deal with the anxiety of infinity, is to trick yourself into thinking it's not.
Yeah, that amnesia is just helping you get through this experience and feel special.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But I really don't, who knows?
We came to you for answers.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Where does art fit in then?
I mean, my opinion on that changes all the time. But at least for me, it's like how I can comfortably interface with the world. And like, so doing the interactive stuff is like my way of encouraging people to be creative and to interact with me in a way that I'm comfortable interacting with them. But I think that there's also like a benefit to encouraging people to create, because like having like a final project, like it's great that, this couch is here or whatever. But what's more important now to me is that like you're experiencing sitting on the couch. And so with the interactive stuff, it's like people are experiencing the process of making art, and that's like therapeutic and helps people to cope with all the kind of the weirdness of existence. And like, you know, there's like science behind it where it's you know, your stress responses can't operate at the same time that you're art making or laughing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So
Really?
yeah, so like your sympathetic nervous system, I think it is the one that's like fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like releasing, you know, all the cortisol and adrenaline, and that can't work at the same time as the parasympathetic nervous system, which is activated when you laugh, when you're like, you know, sewing.
A 7-second out breath
Yeah.
activates it.
Wow, that is starting to make so much sense. Like I really picked up TikTok for a minute at the beginning. This whole quarantine is like a bad habit where it's just like, all right, like this, I know that I don't have coronavirus because this tightness in my chest like completely alleviates when I spend time like scrolling through like hilarious people's videos. And then I've taken up art also partly thanks to you, Richie, because we did a class with you.
Yeah.
Where you kind of like had us draw with you have all these exercises where you draw with the left hand or you don't look, I mean.
Yeah.
The one where you're blindfolded and you don't know what you're drawing.
Yeah.
And the people in the room are directing you how to draw it. That was fucking incredible, man. We had such a funny time doing that.
Oh, I miss being able to do those. It's so funny that like that project was getting momentum right as we enter a period of time where you're no longer allowed to share blindfolds or touch each other or breathe in each other's, you know, hair.
Yeah.
You were the last event we went to.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that was like the last big group thing I did
In general.
Yeah.
Like there probably wouldn't have been
even
many
as
events.
we were doing it, we were like sharing snacks and I was like, this is probably naughty right now.
Yeah, this is a little sketchy, but we're
Yeah.
here. And it was so fun. What was really funny that night is you did it over at Magic City, and like I'm outside smoking a joint, and our friend Josh Craig, who is like a artist in residence there, is like coming in and he's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Richie Brown's having an interactive art thing, man." And he comes in and joins in, and man, he was like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
I loved his narration the
Oh,
whole
yeah,
time.
dude.
He had such a good way of narrating what was happening, what he was doing, how he was feeling.
Oh, when we showed him the ET, we started
What
doing.
were they, like naked ET?
Naked
Yeah, like a
ETs.
male and female ET.
Adult ETs.
Yeah.
God damn, yeah, that was really fucking funny. We'll have to post some of those sometime. You have archives, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there should be like maybe a Zoom. I would do a Zoom Richie Brown town.
There's got to be
world,
some way
you know?
of translating some of that.
I've been thinking about it. It's just like doing it in person is so like nice that I feel like I almost have to just come up with a completely new thing to do digitally. And like it's hard though, because there is something about the real group, the physical group, versus just like seeing people on a screen, because I don't even like doing Zoom. It makes me so uncomfortable.
Right.
I like have to get so close to the camera because I can't feel the presence of the people, and I think if I physically get there, it'll happen. But then I just look like a psycho. But yeah, I would really like to do that, and I think we're gonna have some time.
How's this pandemic going for you?
It's been weird. Like up until maybe a couple weeks ago, I was kind of like running around with my hair on fire, not really sure how to. And it's not just the pandemic; it's all the social stuff too. And just feeling so much regret for like not being as politically active in the past, and now it's like we're all trying to retroactively fix what we didn't do.
Right.
You know, for the last like 10 years. So it's just like, oh, I'm gonna read a book. You know, I got all the Angela Davis books, and then like obviously I haven't read them because I'm an asshole. And like, so yeah, so it's been weird, but like, I mean, I'm healthy. I'm, you know, living in my mom's basement.
That's a good place to be these days. I think that's where a lot more of us are.
Does
headed.
if you had a religious upbringing, does this all mesh with? Have you been fully accepted by the fam? You're like the way you express yourself.
Oh yeah, I almost feel like, I mean, that's also like a weird, long, complex story. But the person who like introduced religion into my family was a stepfather, and he's not part of the family anymore. So that like religious fervor really isn't a part of like the household anymore. So yeah, it's my mom is like so supportive and so accepting, and like creepily proud. You know, like people come over, she's like, "Oh, go look in the basement." You know, and like this M&M with an erection is down there, and she's like, "Yeah, go look in the basement. Go look at all his stuff."
Oh my god.
What are these? Like a yin yang ball sack thing?
Oh, those are butts. They're farting each other out
Oh.
in
Okay.
perpetuity.
Oh, okay.
That itself, I feel like it could heal racial tensions.
It should.
It
right?
should. Like we all need to be more like that, whatever that is.
That's like Martin Luther King's dream in the year 3000.
Is that the title of that painting? Wow.
What did you do this chair for? This couch?
It was for a TV pilot for a show that we filmed.
Cool.
Did you guys not see it, or are you just asking for?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, I'll
Yeah.
have to send it to you.
Yeah, please. The last thing I saw that you did, you were working on a series of animations, and you showed us a fucking hilarious one. About Japanese.
Oh, the yokai?
Yeah, man. Where's
Yeah.
that? Is that stuff out there?
No, I actually had to tell the company to go shove it because I found out they were paying me so little because I don't know anything about animation. So then I talked to someone and they were like, "Yeah, you're getting paid like peanuts."
Oh fuck.
And it was taking me like forever to do these things, and I had to do 10 of them, and I was like, "This is gonna be like a year and a half of my life," and it's like not financially sustainable. So the way the contract worked was like, there's no deadline. So it's pretty much just like, we just have this contract forever. And that project will just never be finished.
Oh, that works out.
Yeah.
Well, so do you own the rights to what you already created?
No, they own it. So
Man, I wanted to share that. It was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck, man. How can people see your stuff? Like, how can they celebrate your catalog?
They could go to my website, richiebrowntown.com, or Instagram at richiebrowntown.
You have some great gifts out there.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And designed our Church of Chill sticker. This little alien dude.
Definitely. A crowning achievement.
Which I will send you for free if you want one. You can email us.
Yeah, if anyone wants one of our stickers that Richie Brown designed.
That was such a fun project, too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Cass came out one morning and was like, I have an idea for a sticker, kind of. And she started sketching it out, and I was like, that's beautiful. But when she handed it off to you and seeing where
it actually looked
went,
like something.
Yeah, like it really did. It looked like it was just like, it was impressive from the first round. And it's always hard for me to work with people when that's the case. I'm like, I don't know what to say. Like, you do this, I don't know how to give notes when I'm like, this is dope.
I made Richie use the color red. And he's like, I hate red. I can't use red. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
It looks so much better without the red.
Yeah.
It did look better without the red. We have a red rose, though.
Yeah.
Because Sean said the rose has to be red, so.
Yeah, otherwise it's not.
It might not, you can't even tell what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the body is essentially Sean.
Yeah, it's me. It's from a picture that Joey took of me. Like, I was passing a joint, and he just snapped a picture, and that was a good one. So.
I was like, we could be like this position, and you're like, yep, I'm done. I'm doing
Somebody
it.
called it out, too. They were like, that's Sean.
Yeah, it's just it was the perfect posture, the perfect pose. Like, why would you do anything different?
I'll model for you anytime.
Will you
I'll be aroused.
Will you be in a bathtub?
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. Trust me.
Light on the bubbles.
I'm aroused just thinking about it. Oh, man. Well, this was a goddamn blast. I'm glad we came down to Asbury Park and we get to sit in your temple of art and weirdness.
Yeah, can I also shout out that I'm wearing the shirt that you designed?
Sure. Yeah.
For Brick and Mortar.
It's such an honor to be so flattered.
Sometimes I get nervous, though, when I wear this shirt, especially this year, that bad things happen to the earth.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like it's kind of one of these things.
Well, luckily, I shouldn't even say it, but it just seems like that's the least likely of the ones to happen at this point.
So far, yeah. We'll talk in a couple months, and maybe we'll be like, man, remember when we thought that the whole world wasn't going to blow up at once?
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. All right. Well, this is the Very A podcast. This is Richie Brown.
This was a damn pleasure. Hopefully we'll have you on again.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Peace and love.